No?
Is that a yes or no?
Yep. Okay, so for those that don't know, I'm Alex, or Nuggets News YouTube. I got into Bitcoin in 2012, and we run the YouTube channel. We try and do as much free educational content as we can to help you get into crypto safe and effectively. And it's been wildly successful. Everyone loves crypto, as we see by turnouts like tonight. People like talking to other people, like-minded people, bounce ideas off each other. So thanks for coming along. It's an absolutely fantastic turnout. Cheers, guys. So to my left, I've got Trader Cobb. He's, would you want to introduce yourself, Cobb?
As well. Hey everybody. Hi. So I'm Trader Cobb. Name's Craig. I've been with Nuggets for since the start of this year, but I've been trading for 11 years. Predominantly trading futures, foreign exchange, stocks. I don't really care what it was, as long as it moved, I traded. It didn't really matter. But look, since I got into crypto, it's just been full time now. It's sort of taken up all my time. I've brought with me, I guess, exactly the same strategies that I traded in traditional markets working really well in crypto. Except for the thing is the moves in crypto, I mean, you can make it in a week if you do it well, you know what I mean? Like what you could in an entire year, grinding hard in markets as a trader, you know, it was hard work. It's just a phenomenal space, and everything I do is really structured. So I'm trying to bring that approach into crypto because I think it can be a bit loose at the moment. I've got a saying you'll hear me say several times, probably several times tonight if you care to hear it. It's even a turkey can fly in a hurricane. And that's happening a lot right now. And I'm trying to bring in a level of education around technical because that's where I've got my expertise. I'm not Alex. I don't try to be. I don't know the fundamentals as well as he does, but I've got a lot of experience in reading technicals. So I'm trying to bring that level of understanding and structure to this marketplace and hopefully add a heap of value to you all. So if you want to follow me more, Twitter, Trader Cobb, Facebook, all that sort of stuff. So tradercobb.com as well.
Howdy. My name is Jamie Skeller. I'm the co-founder of a blockchain-based startup called Horizon State. Nugget. Nugget invited me along. In fact, it was Nugget who was one of the first sort of crypto investment personalities to cover Horizon State during our token sale process. And look, we were in Melbourne a couple of nights ago, and there was about 500 people turn up, and it was humbling and kind of strange and almost a little bit awkward to be walking past people who knew my face and knew the brand and had backed us with their hard-earned cash, and were talking about it just casually as I passed them. And I think Sydney, including the people that have blocked off the staircase and the people upstairs, might have even outdone Melbourne tonight, which is pretty cool. And I've heard. But Melbourne is still better. But look, I think I've heard even more people talking about HST and Horizon State and passing in this room, which is again incredibly humbling. None of us at Horizon State expected this kind of rapid success. Obviously, we all have a sincere and genuine belief in what we're trying to accomplish in terms of local and global impact. And I think, despite how proud we all are to be working on our project, it's also really incredible to be surrounded by such quality in the Australian scene. Power Ledgers, Kenya, who was just fired up as well. So, in terms of in terms of a blockchain startup per capita, I like to think that we probably got the highest quality blockchain scene in the world. Really, really privileged to be a part of that. And obviously we've got great plans throughout the year. So look, if you've been a part of our journey so far, I'll thank you now at the start of the night and probably again later, but it's great to have your support. And looking forward to any questions you have about crypto generally or Horizon State's plans or whatever else the case is.
Yeah. So, guys, we might stand up while we're talking so a few more people can half see us. But I try and cover on my YouTube channel unique projects that are in real-world industries that are going to make the world a better place. Because there's a lot of hype out there, there's a lot of nonsense, and we do try and cut that out on my YouTube channel. So, Jamie's project, if you followed our advice and invested in the ICO, each $1,000 you put in is now worth about $140,000. So, thanks, Jamie. Yeah, well, so I'll put it to the floor. Throw your hand up and talk nice and loudly if you do have a question, guys.
Regarding the ICOs, do you think more regulation would be welcome, especially regarding like Australia and the quality coming together?
Yep. So the question was to do with regulation and ICOs. So we've already seen that in Australia a fair bit. Obviously the SEC are cracking down big time in the US. China and Korea have made the news with cracking down on ICOs. It's the Wild West out there. There was too many bad projects. There was too many scams and fraud. So I definitely think it's a good thing that we have regulation to protect investors. If heaps of mum and dad investors get scammed, especially with these other things out there, you guys know that I don't like USI Tech and BitConnect and anything that guarantees a return. If they all come... If they all come crashing down, the mainstream media will jump all over that and give crypto a bad name, and that's not what we want, guys. So the more we bring legitimacy to this space, the better, and I might pass it over to Jamie. I'm sure he's got some thoughts on that as well.
Yeah, look, I think it's a bit of a misconception that regulation doesn't exist. In respect to trading and holding cryptocurrency and buying in Bitcoin and trading Bitcoin, similar sorts of regulation that applies to traditional markets will still apply to that activity. So if you think that you're out of the eye of the ATO or the ASIC or whatever the case is in the long term, you will be wrong. Pay your taxes. We live in a great country, and our public services are terrific. So the principle behind blockchain is equalizing forces and democratization. So do the right thing and make sure that you're staying as far above board as you possibly can. Anything that applies to trading will apply to what you're doing with Bitcoin and Ethereum and any other cryptocurrency. So keep that in mind. In respect to token sales and ICOs, I'm in a bit of a dichotomy of positions because we have seen a lot of awful things happen to a lot of nice people around the world. People are getting taken advantage of. And unfortunately, I think the reality is that there's probably fewer legitimate projects right now than maybe there are, not so. But part of the reason that we ran the token sale was because it gave us the opportunity to go out to the crowd and fund our business using people who were passionate, equally passionate about our vision, rather than going off necessarily to accredited investors and retail investors and people who are effectively already doing very well. Having built and run startups in the past and raised money for them through traditional markets and traditional investment opportunities, it always felt a little bit odd that if I was successful, then the people that would really benefit from that primarily are people that are already rich. I was in effect making the rich richer. And so by having the opportunity to let the crowd participate and back us and sharing whatever rewards might have come from it, obviously there's no guarantees, that was a really big deal for me personally, and I know quite a few of the other members on the team as well. So I hope that we do see some regulation. There needs to be some hurdles to jump. But if we start getting as strict and as fierce as we do with traditional markets, I almost think we've lost a part of what makes this opportunity so great. So we really need to strike a balance, and I trust our regulators will come to a place that resembles that.
Next question. Yep.
Yeah, I just want to know, thanks for coming to Sydney, by the way, really appreciate it. And when do you see a Bitcoin run soon? Because altcoins have had a mad run lately, I think you agree. Do you see a Bitcoin run soon? And if so, what's your strategy? Are you trading more into Bitcoin at that stage, or are you still just going to hold what you have now, and then if Bitcoin goes up a bit, then so be it, or what's your kind of strategy behind it?
So the question was, is Bitcoin going to have a big run? It's been lagging everything a bit lately. So I guess I bought Bitcoin back in 2013, and I've never sold any because I don't believe it's accomplished its mission yet. Bitcoin has a number of positives and a number of negatives. So if we get a Bitcoin ETF or a half a dozen ETFs in the US markets and across the world, that's a huge wave of money that's going to flow into Bitcoin. I've personally spoken to a number of hedge funds with $100 million on the sidelines. They're going to pour into the top 10 or 20 coins pretty blindly. and that's probably going to lead to some sort of bubble. So again, that's why I'm very selective with what I invest in. And if it does run too hard, too fast, then it will be time to sell. So Bitcoin on the flip side, the negatives, it's very expensive and it's very slow to send money now, where that never used to be the case. So Bitcoin needs to scale. Most cryptocurrencies that have gained popularity, Ethereum, they need to scale. So we have the main Bitcoin network, the main Ethereum network. Now all the engineers are working on side networks, lightning networks, so we can pay for coffee instantly with zero fees. And that's a very tough challenge. Whoever does that first and does that well will obviously get a lot of money. And if Bitcoin doesn't do it, that's already stumbled a couple of times with the hard forks and a few issues. And that's probably why it is starting to be a bit of a laggard. So there's plenty to like about it. It also faces its challenges. As always, just when to take profits is very individual, so I can't give financial advice.
Jamie, you've been blown away by the reception from investors, for people in the community for Horizon Statement. Can you talk about the reception you've got from clients and from liable, how they've been received from people that are going to use the token?
Sure. We've spoken about it briefly in a couple of our AMAs and on our Telegram as well, but what has been quite staggering is that we're in a very unusual situation compared to most startups. With most startups, you'll have a good idea either on paper or with a prototype, and you'll go run a small amount of money in a sort of a seed round, or maybe eventually some sort of Series A if you manage to get some traction. But it's usually about building something that you think you've tested with the market and you can find customers for. But for us, having a pilot, an MVP already up and running for MyVote since Feb of last year, we had a period of time before the token sale where there was already a huge amount of exposure being generated for the project we were working on. And so pretty much all of our customer pipeline as it exists right now, which is extensive, almost all of them have come to us and not the other way around. So if anybody's been following sort of the AMAs and the interviews that I've been doing, it was a little bit of a disappointment that we wouldn't have necessarily had the funds to set up some satellite teams around the world with business development and sales people within them. But it's turned out that it doesn't so much matter at the moment, because it's going to take us a long time to get through the customers currently knocking at the door, let alone needing to go off and proactively find more with the required spend. So it's been great. And look, because they've been coming to us, usually they've already had a pretty good understanding of blockchain, and so we haven't needed to sell them on a product plus how it's even possible. They sort of appreciate, at least at a high level, how it's possible, and they're interested in the outcomes and the outputs that we can achieve because of that. Yeah.
Question?
So I've got a question for both Alex and Trader. Right. So the question. So on one side, I know Trader does a lot of trade analysis stuff. The other hand, you have you said a lot of people say this is mass adoption for 2018. How do you correlate this? So do you actually adoption, or will it change?
Yeah, right. Look, I guess probably the best example of that is the video that I did today on Nugget's YouTube. We had dinner last night, and Alex sort of wanted to look at these 5, which have been, absolutely phenomenal picks that he's put out in the last couple of years. But I guess it brings me back to answer your question about the fundamental with the technical. When I was in London trading over there with the fund and whatnot, I had a guy who did fundamental stuff, and he was very, very good at it, much the same as what's going on here. I was helping with the technical entry into a fundamental stock at that stage. I was going to say token, but it wasn't a token. And it worked really well. Now, effectively, if you can have strong fundamentals, so a real reason for this business to exist, i.e., does it solve anything? Does it do anything? Or is it just something like a business looking for a problem to solve? And that's where these 2 gentlemen step into it. If you can find the good fundamentals and then combine that with good technicals, you've really got everything in your favor. Now, of course, when you're trading or investing, when you're investing, you're looking for high probability opportunities to make money on, and that's based around the fundamentals, and in this space of the workability and the scalability, and does it actually need to exist? When you're looking at trading, you're looking at probabilities as well, but you're looking at it to follow the trend. That's how I look at it anyway. I work from a literal checklist, okay? So that checklist is all there specifically just to increase my probabilities of success, okay? So when you combine the fundamentals of a good coin with the technical vehicles. You do increase your probability of success. Do they work together? Yes, I believe that they do. Can you time your entries? Yes, I believe that you can. But also remember that this market moves very, very quickly. So if you wait around too long, you might wait forever.
What about mass adoption?
So as far as mass adoption goes, you've got to be careful, because if you're into crypto and you're in a meetup like this, you're probably surrounded by it as well. So you can think that everyone knows about it. But you walk down the street and you wear an Ethereum t-shirt or a Litecoin t-shirt, 99% of people got no idea what that is, okay? So I think we're a long way off. I think once we're using it in our everyday lives. So Ethereum's building the backbone of the new internet. We've already got hundreds of companies building on top of Ethereum. But once we're using that in our everyday lives and it's working in the background and people don't even know they're using Ethereum or what it is, that's when we'll be at mass adoption. As far as the money side of things goes, I'm definitely aware that we've got all that money I just spoke about that's probably going to come into this space, and it could drive the biggest bubble of our lifetimes. So again, the dot-com bubble, it went up, it crashed, but from that we had Amazon, Facebook, YouTube, Google. I definitely think there's going to be, Horizon State isn't going to go out of business just because the Bitcoin market crashes. I'm invested in individual industries, individual projects that should not be correlated to Bitcoin, but unfortunately at the moment the market is heavily correlated to whatever the whole space does. Everything goes up and down in lockstep. So yeah, it could present a good opportunity to buy all these good stocks on the cheap if we do have a big correction. But no, I definitely don't think we're at mass adoption. There's so much money on the sidelines that has no way to get into the market yet. Wall Street's not on board.
Do you think cryptocurrency is the money of the future, like to the panelists? And obviously Bitcoin is incredibly difficult to trade as for everyday payments right now. Do you think stablecoin, which is a hot topic right now, could be an answer?
So the question was, is Bitcoin going to be the money, the currency of the internet, or is it going to be a stable coin? Cryptocurrency, sorry. So Bitcoin started out as digital money, and now I expected it to go down in price, or I was definitely thinking it's got to sort these issues out, the scaling, and it hasn't really yet, and yet it's still gone up in price, and now people are viewing it as a digital gold, a store of value. So again, Bitcoin can mean different things to different people. So maybe we use Ethereum, maybe we use Litecoin. There's rumors that Litecoin are going to partner up with Facebook or Amazon, and maybe that becomes the currency. Maybe we have half a dozen currencies for the internet of money. As I said, whoever solves the scaling issues is going to succeed. Stable coins are going to have a huge value. So we've seen issues. One of the big roadblocks and bottlenecks is going between the legacy financial system, so fiat, to cryptocurrency world. If we can, I've heard rumours on my trip already, an Aussie dollar tether is on the way, which would be awesome. Stable coins are going to be a huge part of the ecosystem, again, if they're built well. But again, you've got to convince people to use them. People still use Bitcoin even though it costs $40 to send $100 sometimes. You've got to convince everyone and get them aware of these other coins and get them using them even if it's better.
Yeah, I think stable coins are going to provide a good bridge over the gap. I do think further into the future there is the opportunity for cryptocurrency to delineate a store of value. Then maybe not, because when you start to think about the multiple that cryptocurrency, the entire ecosystem did last year, it was in the vicinity of 33x. Now that's actually not sustainable, because in a few years we will have more in the crypto ecosystem apparently than the entire world's GDP, so that doesn't quite make sense. And then you've got mass adoption in regards to blockchain products and services, and I think we are still a long way away from that as well. But Horizon State is intending to play a very early and important part of that mass adoption, using this technology for really, really important things.
I might just pass it over to Trader Cobb, who gave a great answer in Melbourne about, is everything else in a bubble? How much money have central banks printed since the GFC? Have we solved any issues? There's a lot more money out there that might flood into crypto and where it fits into the scheme of things with all the other markets.
Yeah, you can throw me under that bus if you like. So the question in Melbourne was, do you think that stock markets and property markets are going to crash? My answer was absolutely. I mean, property's not such a speculative asset. It's, you know, hodl, as we say, right? It's more of a buy and hold. You don't do so much of property, the high transaction fees, the high business fee. It's not a cheap thing to offload. We do see property bubbles and, you know, not so much bubbles, but move. But they tend to plateau. With stock markets, you know, people are shocked when I say, yes, the stock market's going to crash or fall. Okay, the worst thing we could have in traditional markets for, you know, mums and dads, for a lot of the people out here are mums and dads, the baby boomers. The worst thing we could possibly have is a 3 to 4 year bear market. A crash is great, and I'll tell you why a crash is great. It's not good in the sense that people are losing money and their pensions are hurt and it's all horrible and it's, you know, death and blood in the street. That's not good at all. Don't get me wrong. That sucks. All right. As a trader, that's when we make our most money. But there's always been that thing in my head, which is, I'm profiting off people's suffering, and I'm just a directional trader and I just do my job. But the market will fall. A crash is good because it happens a lot quicker. We get all the crap out of the market, and then we come back to an equilibrium point. And we're going to see that again. Now, right now, in traditional markets, and I've been doing this for, you know, I've been investing since I was 16, and I've been trading for the last 11 years as a professional, doing this properly, doing this full time, having funds, you know, this is my business, right? We're going to see this happen. A real big crash clears the money out and it works. A bad bear market is going to hurt people. We will see it happen. Right now, politically, globally, we're unstable, to say the least. All right, we've printed so much money. When I talk about the US here, I talk about the printing of money, the quantitative easing. What have we learned since the global financial crisis? Well, it appears not a great deal. America continues to print money, which doesn't solve any problems. They keep arming themselves. So if anybody goes, hang on a second, I mean, China it keeps lending money to America. It's insane what's going on around the world, and I'm a bit nervous. That's another reason I like this new blockchain cryptocurrency world, is that I think it takes a little bit away from my nervousness of what unbridled government power can actually do in the implosion of society. They've got too much power, and it scares me because there's some bullying going on out there, and it's a really dangerous, it's a wonderful time to be alive. I'm not going to put a negative spin on what is an amazing period of life, but it's scary. It's really, really scary. The market will crash because it will. It always does. We've seen it extend on the biggest bull run we've ever seen in the history of markets. The longest run of bull market in our recent times was 1990 to 1999. Of course, the end was the dot-com bubble. And then we went for 7-8 years, the global financial crisis, that hit. And now we're on to our 9th year. And we've never seen gains like we have over these 9 years. Something has to give. Something will give. And when that gives, if it's shortly, around the time where we're seeing this blockchain and cryptocurrency world really taking a stranglehold, I think the market might even surpass our own expectations, because it will be a flight to safety, an area where people are not going to be bullied, a place where they can put their money and feel at least that they own it. So I know it's a long-winded answer, but it's a pretty complex area to cover. The markets will crash, they always do, I promise you. It's just a matter of when, not if.
So would you expect the crypto markets to pick up the slack if the traditional financial markets did crash?
Question was, would I expect the cryptocurrency markets to pick up the slack if traditional markets collapsed?
Yep.
There's a very real possibility of that happening. A lot of trust was lost in the global financial crisis. A lot of institutions lost a lot of people's money and did it knowingly and were greedy and sort of did the big to you. That's 2 fingers in the air for those of you who can't see at the back. Face forward, not back. And it broke a lot of trust. Now, if that was to happen again, and look, and the thing is, nobody got prosecuted for that. Nobody did anything. People lost their jobs, people's lives were ruined, yet these guys just walked away back onto their yachts. I mean, how disgusting is that? So yes, I think that if we do see that start to come off and we get ahead of it, I think it really could impact this marketplace that we're in. It's a big call. It's one I can't really make with any certainty, but there's definite the anger and the distrust. Well, there's a natural place for that there for you to take your money, really, isn't there? And we're already there.
I got a quick question. Is Jamie Dimon an idiot or a hypocrite?
Fuckwit.
Both. Both.
Opportunistic.
Really appreciate you talking about fundamentals that way. There's been recently a lot of talk about
Hashgraph being even a stronger base technology than blockchain. Your thoughts on that, and also, and isn't there an argument for more and more infrastructure and infrastructure?
What was the second half of the question?
Will there be even? Would you expect even more stronger infrastructure coming through?
So the question was about Hashgraph. So Hashgraph is a technology that's very new, and some people are saying it's better than blockchain, basically. So we already have other options. You know, we have IOTA, has Tangled technology, and people are experimenting with different types of distributed ledgers. I can't say I'm an expert on Hashgraph, as I sort of am on blockchain, but I guess the message is, it's the same message when I hear that, you know, Neo is the Ethereum killer of China, or EOS is going to kill Ethereum. These new projects that claim they're better and they're going to kill these other projects, sometimes people forget that Ethereum and Bitcoin have 10 and 5 years of developers that have poured blood, sweat and tears into these projects. They're the smartest programmers in the world. They've poured their soul into these. They're not just going to wake up tomorrow and go, oh yeah, we're all just going to try and see if we can adapt our business model to Hashgraph. So again, it might be a better technology. It might, maybe it does overtake it. We'll keep our finger on the pulse. I'll try and keep everyone up to date on what happens. But yeah, I think that sometimes people forget that it's very, in some ways, as we've spoken about, it's already established. Jamie's not just going to decide to use Hashgraph in Horizon State tomorrow. Real businesses have real partnerships already with blockchain companies. So yeah, well, let's be open-minded. I don't like people that are Bitcoin maximalists, and a lot of them missed out on a huge opportunity to invest in Ethereum. I like to think that I'm pretty open-minded, and if something gets better than Bitcoin and Ethereum, I'll put my money into that. But at the moment, I'm pretty happy having the majority of my portfolio in Ethereum.
How do you see Bitcoin versus Bitcoin Cash ending?
So the question was Bitcoin versus Bitcoin Cash. So as I've spoken about a couple of times already, it's all about scaling. Who can do that best? After a couple of years, a small group of people got fed up with how to make Bitcoin bigger and better, and they said, we're going to increase the block size from 1 megabyte to 8 megabyte. Now, there's a lot of political debates about why that happens. If you make blocks 8 times bigger, they can fit 8 times more transaction fees in them. So those big nasty miners in China make 8 times as much money. So that's kind of the argument about why it's bad, and it's more centralized because those miners in China make more money. Now, Bitcoin came from a decentralized background where you used to be able to mine it on your laptop, and obviously the bigger we make the blockchain for storage of the entire blockchain for your hard drive and for mining, it favors those big centralized companies with supercomputers. The smaller we can make it, the more it keeps it decentralized and distributed so that everyday people can mine Bitcoin. Again, they're the for and against, and it depends what your philosophies are, if you even care about that, or if you just care about cheap transactions. So it's for and against. Again, just like with the Hashgraph thing, whatever people decide is best, it's a free market. Let's wait and see how it plays out. But I think Bitcoin's definitely got that blood, sweat and tears, 10 years argument behind it that Bitcoin Cash doesn't. So.
Yep. Is it worth mining Bitcoin at home?
So is it worth mining Bitcoin at home? So when I first got into it, you could mine on a laptop. I was a uni student. We didn't pay for power, that sort of thing. Kept the room warm in winter, all those sort of things. So now people started making specific chips, and as we mentioned, so in China they can park those under hydroelectric dams where they basically don't have to pay for power. We've reached the stage of technology now where we're almost at the pinnacle. So those chips basically can't get any better now. So maybe that is going to level the playing field. But in countries like Australia, where we have very expensive power, so go Power Ledger. Unless you have a hydro dam, and I know there's someone in this room that does have a hydro dam. No, it's not economically viable to mine Bitcoin. Some of those other coins that are GPU mining with graphics gaming cards, it's a bit better. So yeah.
So I've dabbled around, and no, unless you have an incredible amount of capital to outlay on a serious warehouse full of these things, and even then make much smaller margins in Australia than what you would elsewhere, then no. If you were to go out and drop about $4.5 grand on a 1070 GPU rig with a modest CPU and motherboard to go along with it, with enough GPU ports. And you also had a power kilowatt hour rate that was reasonable, 20-25 cents, which isn't the case in some states, but you might get away with it in Victoria if anybody's interested in moving down. That's a last Melbourne comment, I promise. But you're still only going to make in the vicinity of sort of $8 to $18 a day profit, which for all the hassle, it's probably not worth it for most people unless you want to set up a lot of these rigs. Yeah, maybe check out Korea or China if you want to dodge the government. I don't know.
Surely it's a bit cheaper mining down in Melbourne because you don't see the sun and it's always cold. Is that right?
It's definitely better to keep the rooms warm down there. Yeah.
So just quickly on that point, one thing that people often look past is that Bitcoin consumes a lot of power. It's been in the news lately. There's been a bit of FUD about it actually causes global warming and stuff. If you're a developing country and it's going to cost you $10 million to build a solar farm or a wind farm, why wouldn't you build one and then mine Bitcoin underneath it until you build the town there and it establishes itself and it pays off that infrastructure? So it works both ways. Also, we've got a lot of coins switching to proof of stake, where you lock your coins up in your wallet and you verify transactions for the network. That consumes a heap less power. So there's alternatives on the way, and there's positives and negatives.
And just for each of you, like, where do you see your respective sort of space going in the next decade? Like, what do you see happening? For your company, for crypto, for trading?
It's a big question.
That's yours.
So the question was, what is the future, basically? Look, I'll actually springboard off of the last question and the last point, which is that I think we are going to see a lot of blockchain alternatives. We are going to see a lot of far more efficient blockchains in terms of what happens in regards to power consumption, and I think that's important. What proof of stake will do to prices, however, it's yet to be seen. Some people think it'll do good things for the price of these assets. Other people think it'll do negative things for the price of these assets. But I think what's most important is that people are thinking about ways that we can maintain this liberating technology and the opportunity it affords us all without necessarily doing any damage to the planet. Now, keeping in mind, a lot of the talk about Bitcoin's power consumption is kind of overblown in the sense that you can skew the figures whichever way you like. If we compare it to the global financial system as it exists now, it's less than a third in terms of power consumption. So crypto as an entire ecosystem would use about a third of the global financial system. And then the question is, well, which one's better for the people? Arguably it's the crypto ecosystem, but it's very, very early days in terms of mass adoption. So, there's a lot of facets to it. If you were to look at it in terms of raw power output, I think the statistic was that Bitcoin uses in the vicinity globally of about a quarter of your average coal power plant. So, it's a lot, but some people are talking about it as the world ender, and it's not really the case. So, the long explanation short, I think we're going to get a lot more environmentally friendly in regards to this technology and the alternatives that spring up. In terms of a longer-term vision, obviously the democratizing power and the self-sovereign opportunity that exists with blockchain is an enormous one, especially from a philosophical point of view. I like to think about a world into the not-too-distant future where we have a lot less reliance on our intermediaries that ultimately just make way too much money. I mean, the profits that we see from some of the big banks and some of our centralized institutions, it's just not right, really. There isn't enough equalization, and we could probably talk for hours about where the world needs to go in terms of our economy and capitalism, but we won't. That's probably an entire separate meetup. But I think what we're on the verge of is an opportunity, at least, whether we realise it or not, to really help sort of level things out and try and make sure that we see less poor, which is already happening, mind you. We are at record lows for poverty. The world is in a terrible place. Don't believe the 24/7 fear cycle, the nightly news. Statistically, sorry guys, statistically, the world is already in the best place it has ever been. I mean, we are at record low for homicide rates, record low for poverty, record low for famine. Everything is better than it has been. Anybody who talks about how good things were in the yesteryear, back in the good old days, they weren't the good old days, because every day in the past has statistically been worse. But I think technology like blockchain has the opportunity to really send this on an exponential curve. And I guess to finish up, I'd probably just say as quickly as I can that with our exponential curve for technology generally, which includes blockchain, the power thrust upon individuals to make decisions that can significantly and more profoundly impact themselves and their communities and the globe is also increasing exponentially. You think about a simple technology such as 3D printing, it's not unreasonable to think that sometime into the future you will not only be able to 3D print firearms but a nuclear weapon. And so on the way to that point in time, what we need to think about is also how do we send our decision making and the quality of our decisions also on an exponential path. How do we start to think about the tools and technologies that are going to make us better decision makers individually and collectively? And look, we're trying to work on that right now as Horizon State. And into the future, I'm sure we're going to see artificial intelligence and intelligence augmentation also play key roles. But anyway, we're sort of spiraling. So,
Just quickly, I got into this because I want to see a decentralized world. So, as Cobb mentioned, those bankers that crash the system and that they bet against their own customers and they walk back to their yachts, we live in a centralized world where they control our information, they make all the money, that money has been handed down from generation to generation. If we can do this right, we've already got a room full of people that is getting wealth, and they're intelligent people that like technology and are going to make the world a better place, rather than those people that know only how to fleece the little guy. They're at the top of the pyramid, all those things. So all these projects are distributing the technology, the wealth, and the innovation, and that's why I don't like to put coins down, but Ripple's been in the news lately. It's very centralized, and it's with the banks and stuff. I'd hate to see Ripple go to the #1 cryptocurrency, because this movement is about decentralization. So. Yeah. So, next question.
So first of all, I want to thank you for bringing so much awareness on the problem of the planet and how technology like decentralized blockchain can solve this. I just wanted to ask you if you've ever heard about the concept of free energy and the capacity to produce energy from the blank distance, which is happening now. And do you know that there's a coin right now that is about to bring this technology to mine and mine like coins for free? Are you aware of that?
You a sci-tech or? So the question was about free energy. I'm not an expert in that field at all. I don't know if you've got much thoughts, Jamie, but yeah, I'd be interested if someone's actually solved the free energy problem. They're going to be pretty rich. So yeah. I'm sorry, I can't give a better answer for that.
There's a lot of bang on about Ripple, yeah? If you're an investor, you invest emotionally or not. So there might be shit about Ripple or whatever, but if it's going to make you money, who cares what it is, yeah?
Yeah, exactly. So it's.
All I want to know is, probably a couple of questions in it, but all I want to know is, does it really matter what you put the money into to get a return?
If you're looking at it from an investment standpoint and about making money, then that's fine. I don't hold that against anyone. But again, I'm in it from more of a philosophical point of view. I've covered about 20 coins on the channel that are up 1,000%. Why do you need to invest in Ripple? I guess it's up to you. Like I said, depends.
I understand your way of thinking because I'm a trader, but I can tell you right now, this is something different for me. As a trader, my job was to make money. That was it. That was basically it. I use leverage, I trade futures, I trade all sorts of different things. I did it technically on charts, doing what I did. Like I said, I genuinely did have a responsibility to earn for my family when markets crashed. Through the global financial crisis, that made me. That literally, I did very well, okay? It was a very good time. How much? Yeah, right. Good on you, mate. $4.50, just enough for a beer. Not even, right? No, but look, like your perspective on this is it's not incorrect, but I would challenge you to learn more about this industry, about what this can do to change not just your pocket money, but the world. Because it's done that for me, and it's an incredibly powerful technology, and it's an incredibly, like, it's moved me to focus all of my attention. I've got other businesses that I'm a part of. I've dropped everything to be here, and it's not just because I'm making good money. It's because I truly believe in the future that my kids will grow up in. And I am concerned about some of the things that are going on around the world. And I do believe that this medium that we've got, if we can keep it decentralized, and if we can give it back to us, the people, I think we can change the world. And that sounds like so hippie, right? I am a hippie, goddammit. I'm a bald hippie in a jacket, yeah? Yeah, right? But bottom line is we can change the world here. And I'm really, really keen to make money while we do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, and to give you a few examples of the opportunity, I think, just so it's clear, because a lot of people don't fully grasp what this term decentralization means. We still got it, cool. In terms of the term decentralization and what that means from day to day, because a lot of this stuff is finance oriented, and there is a lot of interest, obviously, in making money right now. But if we start to think about the other potential applications, obviously voting is one of them. But if you start to think about the media industry, and instead of paying Spotify $12 a month, which mostly goes to Spotify and a little bit to the artists, that instead you had an interface that just so happened to create direct relationships with the artists. So the musicians are actually getting much, much more, if not close to all of the money per listen. Power Ledger, amazing.
Yeah.
Instead of relying on your AGL or your Energy or your Energy Australia, instead you're trading peer-to-peer, and so you can get off the grid, and Sue down the road can buy energy from Joe at a fraction of the price of what it would cost now. But we're still a long way from achieving these things, because even most current implementations lean on the current grid, and there are fees associated with that lease and so on. But there is a lot of tremendous opportunity for decentralization. I urge everybody here, and again, this falls back to the discussion about Bitcoin versus blockchain. Learn as much about blockchain as you can, because look, I could be wrong, but I feel like we'll all get back to look back in about 10, 15, 20 years from now, and maybe even remember this night, and remember the night that the world was starting to change. Yeah.
Might take a couple more questions. Wrap it up.
Question is, what are your thoughts on exchanges? So big changes with finance. You've got very competitive exchanges like Qcoin. A lot of incentives, and even on exchange, zero fees. So what are your thoughts on the future of exchanges? Are they needed or?
So the question was to do with exchanges. So it's been a big change already. I think this year we have a move away from centralized exchanges. So there's a number of decentralized exchanges on the way. There's things called atomic swaps, where you can just trade Bitcoin for Litecoin with one of your friends off the main network. So you'll be able to do that instantly and for free. All these things are coming. So whoever does it best is going to get the most customers and get our business. But yeah, I definitely think we're going to have a move away from these centralized exchanges. Even though they're part of the blockchain industry, they actually are quite centralized in nature. So you've got to get into this ecosystem. So once you've got your money from the bank into Bitcoin or whatever that may be, you're in the ecosystem. Then you can start buying other coins, or using Horizon State to vote, using Power Ledger to pay your power bills. So yeah, the banks in some ways are maybe putting up those barriers, but there's more and more of us that are in the cryptocurrency ecosystem. Once you're there, it's quite easy. So.
This question's for Jamie. How do you think blockchain will change our political system?
I'll answer this one quickly, because I think someone on the stairs has been waiting for ages. Sorry. Nice beer, by the way. You should come to Melbourne. Sorry, I lied. The question was, how do I think blockchain will change the political system? Obviously, what Horizon State is working on is an important first step, which is really about the decentralization of the ballot box. It's about making sure that when people are voting, that no one individual, institution or government has control over that ballot box, that it's perfectly secure in perpetuity and can be recounted for all time with the same result, to make sure that we can start to mitigate corruption in our election results by creating that tamper-proof version of the result. So pretty profound stuff already, but in a lot of ways we are still kind of a centralized business. We are building a decentralized product with a business itself that isn't necessarily so different to a lot of existing ones, and this is the case with a lot of current blockchain products. But where we'll see things go into the future is obviously truly distributed organizations, and in regards to the political system, I think utilizing this kind of technology, we will have the opportunity to decentralize government itself. So into the far future, we might wind up in a place where our current representative democracy begins to be torn down, and we see something that reflects much more of a direct democracy, where the figurehead politicians and the people playing the fame games, who certainly aren't subject matter experts, get out of the way. There'll still be the need for some bureaucrats to handle a lot of the paperwork, but the bottom line is that you and I will be able to have your say frequently, I hope, with immediacy, and be better informed than ever before, and have the capacities to make better decisions with that information than ever before. So, you know, it sounds a little bit utopian, but I honestly think that's where we can get to. Maybe not in our lifetime, because democratic processes are slow-moving beasts, but you know, everything's starting to move quicker and quicker. So who knows?
Beard man on the stairs. Yeah. Yeah, we're facing severe scaling issues. So, I guess I'll try. I'll wrap that up with my summary and everything. So, we do offer a premium service. It's hit capacity. We can't fit any more people in. We've got thousands on the waiting list, so we are building a new website. But guys, I'll continue to do hundreds of hours of free content on YouTube. So, the thing that I just want to thank you all for coming. Believe it or not, we have very few Australians out of 20-odd thousand subscribed on YouTube are Australians. So the purpose of this mission was to get more Australians involved. I see all these financial experts, the Jamie Dimons of the world, that have called Bitcoin a fraud and a Ponzi scheme. They're going to start charging you, we already see it, $500 a month for their newsletter to tell you to buy Bitcoin and Ethereum. So I don't want people getting ripped off by these centralized corporations. Please tell them to sign up to Nuggets News, where we do it for free. We'll educate you, continue to bring you the best coins, the best projects, and trying to keep you up to date with everything in the crypto world. So thanks for coming. Cheers.